Thank you, Ambassador Nasim Firdaus, madam. Let me take the opportunity to introduce our speaker today. And this is so a conversation that we will be doing about Bangladesh's foreign policy and some of the contemporary issues in the international diplomacy and negotiation. We have Ambassador Nasim Firdaus. Madam has joined Bangladesh Foreign Service in 1979 and has a glorious career of 29 years. If I'm not mistaken, Ambassador Nasim Firdaus Madam is the first woman recruited in Bangladesh Foreign Service through civil service exams and has served as the first woman ambassador in Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, East Timor, Egypt, and Cyprus. Madam has also studied diplomacy and international law from Harvard Kennedy School and Brussels, as well apart from her studies in Dhaka University. Madam, how do you like to reflect your career and what changes you have experienced in the foreign policy and the execution of the foreign policy as a career diplomat from Bangladesh?
Thank you very much, Professor Niloy. It's a great pleasure to be speaking to you. My service in the Foreign Office was for 29 years, and which took me around the world. So I was posted in several countries, beginning my service in foreign posting in Brussels, Belgium, and then subsequently ending my career in the ancient city of Cairo, in the country of Egypt. It has been a very interesting journey for various reasons. First, of course, as you mentioned, I was the first female diplomat recruited, and there was a question of whether I would be able to succeed as a diplomat or not. That was a question being asked by many, and I sort of took that as a challenge and tried to learn as much as I could in the process of growing up in the Foreign Office. International relations is, as you are a teacher of international relations, it's a very dynamic subject. It's always moving. It's not static. It's not about theories, but it's more about practice. It is about the arts and science, a combination of art and science. It's a practice of negotiation, appeal, understanding. All that put together makes a diplomat a diplomat. So yes, it has been a very wonderful experience. There have been times that have been downs, and there have been ups in the process, but I think I have had a very satisfactory career. In some cases, I've been extremely satisfied with the outcome of my activities. In some, I have been disappointed, but that's the way of life.
Exactly. Thank you, ma'am. Bangladesh, we have celebrated 50 years of our independence. We have gone through various ups and downs, as you have mentioned, in the career of the diplomats and also in the overall, the national discourse of the country. So we have conducted several bilateral relations with our neighborly and other friendly countries and multilateralism as well. And, in the 21st century, coming back, in the 2022, we have several layers of multilateralism that are working as well. So from regional organization towards a more multilateral, many-lateral issue platforms like BIMSTEC and also Indo-Pacific. So how do you see the future of Bangladesh's foreign policy in these various, in this very complicated, I would like to say, international paradigm or international order?
It's an interesting times. We are in an interesting time because there is a major global movement around the world. In the last 20 years, there have been major wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and now in Ukraine. And each of these wars have had an impact, directly or indirectly, on Bangladesh. If we talk about the latest one, which is the Ukraine war, we are seeing the results, food grain, fuel import, these things have been affected. So these internationally, worldwide, people are having difficulties. So Bangladesh is also having some difficulty in that respect. But fortunately, we have a better grounding, so we have not been affected as badly as some other countries. Um, alliances have been growing from in international relations for thousands of years, literally, and alliances come and go. In Pakistan times when we were kids in school, we had seen Seato, Sancho, those have dissipated. Then came non-aligned movement, which is dormant. It's not gone, but it's as good as gone. So these alliances will come and go depending on the bilateral, depending on the individual country's interest, whether they serve the nation and provide what they have been built up for. Proliferation of alliances like this, or proliferation of these groupings, is to some people maybe a very good idea, but to me, I think it's for Bangladesh, it's a bit of a stretch. We don't have huge number of diplomats. We don't have a huge foreign office. We don't have a very huge supportive research structure in the foreign office. So these have, sort of pressurizes the foreign office to a great degree to have too many engagements in too many alliances. BIMSTEC is one of the new ones that is being talked about quite a lot, but I don't see BIMSTEC having produced anything significant. Whereas on the other hand, I think SARC has done that. And although people claim SARC to be dead, I would never say that, because we must not forget what was the basis of SARC. It was built on a statement made by Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman in a speech in India that we would like to have a free and peaceful South Asia. Basically, he said peaceful region, which is the region of South Asia. And then subsequently that rolled off into the South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. The core objective of that organization was to bring people to people, contact between people amongst South Asians, and create and build trust and create a space for understanding. And I think that has been achieved and that continues today, because in 1985, when SARC was launched, December 1985, we did not have any connection between capitals. No airlines flew. There was no connection between Dhaka and Delhi, Dhaka and Maldives, Mali, or Dhaka and Colombo. I'm taking Dhaka as a go because it started off in Dhaka. It was launched in Dhaka, and Dhaka and Islamabad. All these capitals around South Asia did not have a direct airlines connection, let alone other modes of transport. Today, because of SARC, we have direct flights to India, and not only to Delhi but Calcutta. Calcutta existed even at that time, but to other cities of India. We have flights to Maldives, Sri Lanka. We used to have to go through Bombay or some other place, travel to other place from India. So those connections have been brought closer.
Right.
And that is what SARC was all about.
Yeah.
Imagine the people-to-people contact. When it started off, when SARC was launched, there were 14 technical committees working on different subjects: agriculture, drug trafficking, health, and other issues. And those have come closer. We are sharing information. We are sharing technology. We are sharing our thoughts on those issues. That is the beauty of SARC.
Exactly.
And which is still existing. People don't recognize it, or people don't remember it. Some people who were young kids at the time, are now in the forefront, have not seen what it was before SARC came into being, what kind of a relationship we had. Why are we so close to India today? Because we have a lot more freedom in connecting with each other. Uh, Research associations, Dhaka University has so many projects together with Indian universities. So these have brought the thing close. And that is the kind of association I think Bangladesh should focus on instead of putting their finger into every pie.
Right. Thank you so much for elaborating, particularly the history of SOC. And I also believe that one regional organizations or one such platform of connectivity cannot be a substitute of another. So it's the age that we are in where we can have more regional collaborations, and just not to think that one is a substitute of another and one is dead, another is working, or alternative of another. So of course, there is an opportunity. There are multiple opportunities to revive the SOC and the collaborations in different ways, and also at the same time we can probably move forward with other sub-regional arrangements that we have. Another issue, and probably I find that this multilateral engagements is a very interesting dimension of Bangladesh's foreign policy, particularly in the contemporary time. So at present, I think the talk of the town, particularly in international relations, is Indo-Pacific or BRI. There are technicalities about it. Maybe we do not need to go into that, but the idea of joining different multilateral platforms to the extent that it serves the national interest of the country. So how do you see this? Because one of the argument is that this is an either or debate. But the proponents themselves are talking about that this is not an either or, and since Bangladesh's foreign policy mantra is friendship to all and allies to none, so can we sustain both together, keeping our national interest intact? What is your opinion, ma'am?
Well, I think it is an either or situation, and I think we should keep ourselves above that fray, in the sense that, again, I'll go back to what Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman said at that time, that Bangladesh will become the Switzerland of the East. And if I look at Switzerland, where I have served for 4 years, Switzerland has no enemies, but is not a part of all these other bilateral, multilateral forums that it is surrounded by. For example, Switzerland is not a member of the EU. So for a very long time, Switzerland had an observer status in the UN. It was not even a member of the United Nations. So it maintained its neutrality. And I think Sheikh Mujib had rightly thought that our geographical situation being such that 4,000 kilometers of border with a huge neighbor, and then having no one else. In the south, we have the sea. We literally have to jump off to the sea if anything happens. So neutrality is the best option for Bangladesh. And to maintain that neutrality, I would say that Bangladesh should not get into all these different kinds of organizations and groupings, which might in the long run force Bangladesh to take positions against certain other groups. There will be other groups emerging elsewhere, and then Bangladesh will be forced to take decisions that are not necessarily palatable to our public and to our national interests. The most important thing is the national interest. So if you look at international movements now, what is happening with President Joe Biden visiting Middle East.
Exactly.
I mean, he's traveling to Israel and Saudi Arabia and all these countries. It's a mix, and it's a very delicate thing that he is, tightrope that he's walking on. I'm not sure that Bangladesh should side with anyone, be with anyone, other than looking at its own personal country's interests, and then move forward with that. I am sure there will be requests for countries which have not, Muslim countries which have not recognized Israel, to recognize that country, and that should be Bangladesh's own call.
Exactly.
Nobody else's to tell us what to do.
Absolutely.
But once we become members of these blocks, different blocks, then you engage in that, you put yourself in front of the discussion.
Right. Thank you so much, madam. This is my last question, which is you have experienced the last 30 years of Bangladesh's foreign policy and diplomacy discourse. For the next 30 or 50 years, what do you think the major challenges for Bangladesh to flourish in the international order, and how do Bangladesh address those challenges?
One of the biggest challenge for our country is to develop our human resources to a level where our people will be respected for their expertise and their talent. And if we can do that, then that recognition of all other things will come with it, including Bangladesh's desire to remain within itself in a sense, and stay neutral, not get engaged in any kind of relationship where there is, you know, to this party or that party, that kind of thing. I think Bangladesh should avoid. But that we can do only when we have actually developed our skills and our leadership, strengthen our democracy, and of course, the most important thing is practice rule of law.
Okay. Thank you so much, madam, for staying with us, and thank you for your valuable opinion. Thank you.